Welcome to the Psychology and Physical Training channel. Have you ever wondered why conflicts arise within leadership roles and how they are resolved? It's a question that intrigues many of us. Leadership conflict is as natural as the rising sun. In any organization, you'll find leaders with differing viewpoints, strategies, and ideas, which can lead to conflict. It's an inevitable part of the process. But here's the key. Leadership conflict isn't a bad thing. In fact, it can be a catalyst for creativity and innovation. It can push an organization to reach new heights, to rethink strategies, and to evolve. But it can also be a destructive force if not managed properly. It can lead to a toxic environment, decreased productivity, and a lack of growth. So how do we navigate this tricky terrain? How do we ensure that conflict becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block? Let's delve deeper to understand the process of conflict and resolution in leadership roles. Stages of leadership conflict. Conflict doesn't just happen, it's a process, evolving through various stages. Let's delve deeper into these stages. The first stage is latent conflict. This is the undercurrent, the stage where potential for conflict exists due to underlying issues or differences. It's like the calm before the storm, where the air is heavy with tension, but no explicit disagreements have surfaced yet. Next, we have perceived conflict. This is when the parties involved become aware of the factors that could lead to conflict. It's like noticing dark clouds gathering in the sky, signaling an approaching storm. The issues are not yet out in the open, but there's a growing awareness that something isn't quite right. Then comes the stage of felt conflict. The parties involved start to feel the impact of the conflict. It's not just an intellectual understanding anymore. Emotions are now in play. It's like the first drops of rain, signaling the beginning of the storm. The tension is palpable, and it's clear that something needs to be addressed. Following this, we enter the stage of manifest conflict. This is when the conflict is out in the open, and the parties are actively engaged in it. It's the full-blown storm, where the issues are being openly discussed or argued about. This is the stage that most people think of when they hear the word conflict. Finally, we arrive at the conflict aftermath. This is the stage where the conflict has been addressed and the parties involved are dealing with the consequences, whether they're positive or negative. It's like the calm after the storm, where the sky is clearing up, but the effects of the storm are still visible. Understanding these stages is vital for effective conflict management. It allows us to identify where we are in the conflict process and guide our decisions and actions accordingly. Whether we're dealing with a small disagreement or a major dispute, awareness of these stages can help us navigate the choppy waters of conflict and steer towards resolution and growth. So remember, understanding these stages is vital for effective conflict management. Techniques for resolving conflict. So how can leaders navigate through these stages and resolve conflicts effectively, you may ask? Well, there are several techniques that leaders can employ to resolve conflicts, including negotiation, mediation, arbitration, and conciliation. Let's start with negotiation. This is a process where two or more parties with different needs and goals discuss an issue to find a mutually acceptable solution. It's a balance of give and take. You're likely to use negotiation in situations where the relationship is important, but you also have specific interests to protect. It's about finding that common ground where everyone feels that their needs have been considered and addressed. Next, we have mediation. This involves a neutral third party, the mediator, who helps the conflicting parties to reach a resolution. The mediator doesn't make decisions but facilitates communication and promotes understanding. Mediation is especially useful when emotions are running high and communication is broken down. It helps to reestablish dialogue in a safe, controlled environment. Then there's arbitration. Unlike mediation, the arbitrator makes a decision based on the evidence presented by the parties. It's a formal process, often used when negotiation and mediation have failed. It's a bit like going to court, but less formal and more flexible. Finally, there's conciliation. This is similar to mediation, but the conciliator plays a more active role in suggesting solutions and bringing about agreement between the parties. It's often used in industrial disputes where the parties have a long-term relationship and want to maintain it. Each of these techniques has its place and its advantages. The choice depends on the nature of the conflict, the relationship between the parties, and the desired outcome. It's also important to remember that conflict isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can lead to innovation, change, and growth. It's how the conflict is managed that makes the difference. The right technique can transform conflict into an opportunity for growth. Introduction to negotiation processes. An integral part of conflict resolution is negotiation. But what does the negotiation process look like? Well, it flows like a river, starting from the source, meandering through various bends and turns, before reaching its destination. Let's set off on this journey. The first stop is preparation. Before diving into any negotiation, it's essential to do your homework. Research the issue, understand the interests of the other party, and define your objectives. It's like packing your bag before a trip. You want to be ready for any situation that might arise. Next, we sail into the discussion phase. This is where the parties lay their cards on the table. It's important to keep the communication lines open, listening as much as you're speaking. Remember, it's about understanding, not winning. Then, we reach the phase of clarifying goals. Here, each party must articulate their needs and desires. It's like plotting the course on a map. You need to know where you're going and what you're willing to compromise on to get there. As we continue downstream, we approach the negotiation towards a win-win outcome. This stage is all about collaboration and creativity. It's about finding a solution that satisfies both parties. It's not about dividing a pie, but rather about making the pie bigger so that everyone gets a satisfying slice. The next phase is the agreement. This is the point where the parties shake hands, metaphorically or otherwise. They agree on the course of action, marking the end of the negotiation journey. But wait, we're not quite done yet. The last stage is the implementation of the course of action. This is where the rubber meets the road. The agreed-upon solution is put into action, and the parties monitor the outcomes to ensure they are as expected. Effective negotiation can lead to successful conflict resolution. So remember, the negotiation process is not a battlefield but a journey of collaboration, understanding, and mutual benefit. Stay prepared, be clear, collaborate, agree, and implement. And that's how you navigate the river of negotiation. Bargaining strategies in negotiation. Bargaining is a key component of negotiation, but how do leaders strategize their bargaining? To answer this, we'll delve into three main types of bargaining strategies: distributive bargaining, integrative bargaining, and the use of dirty tricks. Let's start with distributive bargaining. This is a zero-sum game, where the gain of one party is the loss of the other. It's like slicing a cake. The bigger your piece, the smaller mine. This strategy can be effective in one-off negotiations, where relationship building is not a priority. But be careful, as it can breed conflict and mistrust. Next up is integrative bargaining, also known as win-win negotiation. Here, the parties seek to expand the cake rather than just slice it. They aim to find a solution that satisfies all parties involved. This involves a lot of creativity, collaboration, and understanding of each other's needs. It's more time-consuming than distributive bargaining, but it builds stronger relationships and can lead to a more sustainable agreement. Now on to the infamous dirty tricks. These are manipulative tactics used to gain an unfair advantage, like misleading information, psychological pressure, or even intimidation. While they might give a short-term advantage, these tactics often backfire in the long run. They can damage your reputation, ruin relationships, and even lead to legal consequences. Remember that each strategy has its own pros and cons. Distributive bargaining can be quick and effective, but may harm relationships. Integrative bargaining is more collaborative and builds stronger bonds, but it requires more time and effort. Dirty tricks might give you a temporary edge, but they risk damaging your reputation and relationships. So, when choosing a bargaining strategy, consider your relationship with the other party, the nature of the negotiation, and the potential consequences of your actions. It's not just about winning the negotiation, but also about maintaining relationships and your reputation. Bargaining strategies can shape the outcome of the negotiation process. Conclusion. Leadership conflict, if managed well, can be a catalyst for positive change. We've journeyed through the various stages of leadership conflict, from the emergence of differences and the escalation of tensions to the actual confrontation and the possible resolution or dissolution. We've explored the powerful tools and techniques that can be used to resolve conflict, such as active listening, empathy, and finding common ground. Moving from conflict to negotiation, we've delved into the intricate processes involved. We've seen how the negotiation process is a dance of give and take, a delicate balance of assertiveness and cooperation. We've discussed various bargaining strategies, from competitive and collaborative to compromise and avoidance, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. In essence, understanding these processes is not just about managing conflict or navigating negotiations. It's about harnessing these situations as opportunities, leveraging them to foster understanding, collaboration, and ultimately to spur organizational growth. Understanding these processes can equip leaders to transform conflicts into opportunities for organizational growth. And if you like this video, do not forget to subscribe and follow the Psychology and Physical Training channel for more videos. Thank you for watching.